Oh, steam wine. Oh, Janie, it's beautiful. Thank you. Isn't it beautiful?
Well, I'd hardly call a steam iron beautiful, but you can't beat it for pressing a man's suit.
Oh, girls, I really had no idea that you were going to do all this for me.
Oh, I'll get it. Hi, Carl.
Hello, Janie. Is Ellen here?
Sure, come on in.
What's going on here?
Just a little surprise for your girlfriend.
Hi, darling.
I don't understand.
Well, the girls decided to give me a surprise shower. Wasn't that sweet of them?
A shower, but we're not...
Well, I told them they were rushing things a little, but they're convinced that it's only a matter of minutes until we're man and wife.
Well, we're expected at my house for dinner. We better get going.
Well, what about all the loot? I mean, did you have your dad's car with you?
Yeah.
Come on, let's give him a hand. Oh, pretty. I'm not too bad.
You haven't said a word since we left Janie's. Carla, I know what you must be thinking, but... Well, I didn't tell Janie or anyone else that we were going to be married soon. I can't help it if the girls decided to give me a shower. But I know what it must look like to you, and I...
Okay, baby, I'm sorry. I'm a brute. It's just that, well, you know how I feel about our getting married before things are right.
Forgive me?
Did everybody have enough to eat?
Yes,
thank you.
I guess so, Mom. If I can have seconds on pie and ice cream.
Seconds and thirds. There's another pie and plenty of ice cream.
Oh.
Oh, and there's half a chicken left over in the refrigerator for later on when you get a little hungry. You know, at 10:30.
Have you kids decided on a date yet?
No, Dad, we haven't.
Well, what are you waiting for?
Well, as I told you, I want to be set before I start making definite plans.
But you are set in the store with me.
I don't see any sense in discussing this again right now.
Well, there's no time like the present. You know, I didn't build up the only department store in this town just for myself.
Oh, Mary, did what you're cooking for the church supper Saturday?
Yes, I'm going to make a couple of pot roasts.
That was the idea of your going to business college, wasn't it?
Well, things were different then.
What things?
Well, the store was showing a profit when I started school.
Oh, just because we're in the middle of a little temporary slump.
Everybody else is showing bigger volume than ever before. Your business is way off and you call it a temporary slump? It's a sag, not a slump.
People in this town will get tired driving 12 miles each way to shop in that new department store in Meadsville. It's just sort of a fad, that's all.
Some fad has been going on for a year and a half, ever since the store was built. You're not going to get customers back in our place until you learn to compete with competition. You've got to bring your merchandising up to date.
Did you hear that, George? 2 years of business school, he knows all about running a business that I built up from nothing over a period of 25 years.
Yes, I know how these young fellows are.
Jack, this is hardly the time to...
Why not? George and Mary have a perfect right to know how their prospective son-in-law thinks.
The store is hardly supporting one family right now, is it? How can it support two?
Well, now, like I said, we're in a little bit of a slump. But I've still got a few dollars in the bank, and I can still afford to pay my son a decent salary so he can get married.
What are you offering me now, charity?
Charity?
I'm sorry, Dad, that was a rotten thing to say, but I've got to think of my family's future. I've decided the best thing for me and my family is a position with a solid, dependable firm, a big firm. Big business is security.
So you're all set to bury the small businessman in this country, huh?
No, only the small businessman who refuses to keep pace with the changing times.
Which means you think I'm an old fogey.
You're putting the words in my mouth.
Then I'll put some more. What you call security is just another name for fear. You're afraid. Afraid to stand on your own 2 feet. You want someone else to take the risk and protect you. You're running scared, that's all. Why not face it?
Pardon me.
Excuse me. Carl! Carl, wait a minute.
This seems to be my day. I can't open my mouth without getting into an argument. First you, and then Dad and...
Your father didn't mean that about your being afraid. It's just that he's planned on your going into the store for so many years, and you refuse.
Do you think I ought to?
I think you should do whatever you feel is best for you.
For us, Ellen.
best for you is best for us.
Ellen, I want you to understand just what's in my mind. I spent 18 months in the Army and 2 years in business college. All that time I've been thinking, trying to figure out my future. Right now, I have to be very, very careful. That's why I don't want to get married. Not until I'm sure where I'm going.
Well, as long as you're working for your father and until you can find what you really want to do, I could get a job.
No.
Carla, I wouldn't mind, really. I could work at least until I couldn't work any longer. You know what I mean.
Yes, that's just it, don't you see? That's just what I'm trying to avoid.
What's what you're trying to avoid?
Getting trapped into a situation by circumstances so that I'll be stuck with it for life.
Trapped? Is that what marrying me means to you, a trap?
No, of course not, Ellen. It was just expression to explain how I...
Pretty clear expression. That is why you don't want to get married, isn't it?
Well, in a way, yes. But I do want to get married eventually.
I don't blame your father. You are selfish. You don't care about anything or anybody but yourself.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm not going to trap you. I won't be a ball and chain around your neck. You're free. You're free as a bird, and you can do whatever you want to do.
Ellen! Ellen!
Well, what do you expect?
What do you mean?
Well, you haven't tried to call him or get in touch with him in the past 4 days either, have you?
Why should I?
But why should Carl? You're the one that told him never to darken your doorstep again.
You mean you think I should make the first move?
Well, don't you suppose he has a little pride, too? I mean, you tell him to go jump, and then you expect him to come back crawling, begging forgiveness?
After all those things he said to me.
Well, what about the things you said to him? Hey, now he's still the guy you want to marry, isn't he?
Well, yes.
Then don't be foolish. Get on down to the store and start patching things up.
Just like that?
Just like that.
What'll I say?
Oh, I'm sure you'll think of something once you get there. Now, come on, keep going.
Come on.
Landis Department Store.
I wanted to talk to you. I thought maybe we could go for a drive. Well, I'm right here at the corner of 5th.
I'll be right over.
I'll be waiting. And I'm sorry for all those things I said to you. I had no call to carry on like that. Aren't you going to say anything?
That's better than talking. I talk altogether too much sometimes.
Sometimes we both do.
Any special place you'd like to drive?
Well, I do have to go to Meadsville either today or tomorrow. And since we're halfway there,
Where in Meadsville?
the S&H Redemption Center on Lockridge.
S&H? Oh, those stamp things. I didn't know you bothered with them.
Everybody in my family does, for years.
Why?
Well, today I'm going to get a toaster for the house. The old one gave up the ghost yesterday, and then Sunday is Daddy's birthday, and Mother and I are going to give him a watch.
Well, it's really none of my business, but you know, of course, you pay for those things. You're only kidding yourself.
Well, that's not true. We always shop in places that give S&H stamps, and we've compared the prices. And the stores that give them are just as reasonable as any other stores, sometimes even more reasonable.
That's silly. How could they be? Stores have to pay for the stamps, so they have to add to the price of the items they sell. That's logic.
Well, I don't know how it works, but I do know it pays us to shop where they give S&H stamps.
It doesn't add up. That's one thing my dad and I agree on. We wouldn't have those stamps in our store on a bet.
Now, I don't want to start an argument with you.
Yeah, let's not. What about the church supper tonight? You going?
Well, I'm waiting for someone to ask me.
Consider yourself asked. Well, here's Lockridge Boulevard. What number was it?
723. Well, there it is, just down the street.
Like a pretty fair racket.
Well, maybe if you're good, you'll get one of them as a present.
2.5 books. That doesn't sound like much. How long does it take to save that many stamps?
Depends on how much shopping the family does. About 5 weeks, more or less.
Can I help you?
Yes, we want to look at a toaster and a man's watch.
Well, the toasters are over here. This Toastmaster is the newest and the best in the market. Completely automatic.
Hey, that's pretty neat. Really automatic.
Makes pretty wonderful toast, too. Janie has one. I'll take one of these. Now, about that watch.
Well, they're right over here.
I'm interested in a Longines.
You mean you can actually get a Longines watch for these stamps?
Mm-hmm.
Here you are.
Well, how about this one? Think you'll like it?
It's a beauty.
I'll take it. I think I have just enough books. I checked the amounts in your catalog.
Thank you.
This is quite a business.
Well, potato salad. Oh, how I like potato salad. Yeah. Well, you two look mighty happy.
Well, we are, aren't we?
That's wonderful. Thank you.
I have something to tell you. What is it? See? Ellen, oh, congratulations. Thank you. Very good. Right.
Well, what happened to you two? Did you get lost?
Oh, that's a fine thing to ask an engaged couple.
And it's official now.
My little girl's grown up.
Congratulations. I am Elliot Winston.
Thank you.
And Mrs. Winston, Carl Landis.
How do you do?
Of course, we know Ellen.
Well, Mr. Winston is superintendent of our Sunday school, and he also works with the Y.
Well.
Yes, and beside his regular job, he works for the Chamber of Commerce. He's president of the Board of Education.
Thank you, my dear. I understand you just graduated from business college and are looking for an administrative job.
That's the way it happens. When they grow up, they have their own ideas. I planned on Carl coming in the store with me, but it's his life, my wife insists, and, well, I suppose maybe he does have a right to run it the way he thinks best. Oh, by the way, you might have something to suggest, Winston. You know an outfit where a bright young man like him can get started?
Bright young men are always in demand. But maybe he'd be interested in getting on the waiting list for a job with my company. We're expanding all the time.
No, I hardly think so. He's looking for something a little more substantial.
Substantial? Well, I've been with the company for 20 years, and the good Lord willing, I expect to be with it 20 more. I'd call that fairly substantial.
What company is that, Mr. Winston?
The Sperry and Hutchison Company.
Sperry and Hutchinson?
S&H Green Stamps.
Oh.
That O sounds like you share your father's lack of enthusiasm for trading stamps.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I do. I don't believe you get anything for nothing in this world.
I don't either. But would you say a company that's been constantly growing for 60 years isn't sound? Or a company that's on an unsound premise?
I still don't get it. It's just a promotional scheme.
Carl, you just graduated from business college, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, what discount does the manufacturer give the wholesaler for paying cash?
Oh, usually about 2%.
Well, what about the wholesaler? What discount does he give for cash?
2%.
And what about the consumer? What discount does he get?
Discount? None. Why should he?
Well, why shouldn't he?
Well, I don't know. I guess just because nobody ever does it.
Merchants who use S&H Green Stamps do. The manufacturer and wholesaler save money by being paid in cash. That's why they give a discount for cash.
Sure, they save in bookkeeping and by having cash to operate with.
Right. And the same thing applies to the retailer. Isn't that so, Mr. Landis?
Well, in a way, yes.
You have charge accounts. Doesn't that involve extra bookkeeping?
Yes.
And sometimes losses from bad debts?
Well, sometimes there are losses, yes.
So, the customer who pays cash should get a break over the one who doesn't. That's the essence of good business. Actually, by giving a discount for cash through S&H Stamps, the retailer is sharing his savings.
Well, it sounds logical.
It is logical. It's the basic idea behind S&H Green Stamps. It's a logical part of the American economic system. It's something for something, not something for nothing.
Carl, why don't you visit with Mr. Winston at the distribution center in Meadsville? That is, if he doesn't mind.
Mind? I'd be delighted. You saw how I like to talk about the company. I'd be glad to show you around.
Well, I'm afraid I'd just be wasting your time. You see, I'm really not interested in a job with the company, so...
Well, that's all right. I'd be glad to show you around anyway. Actually, as district manager, it's part of my job to explain our operation to businessmen in the area. And you are going to be connected with some business around here.
What could you lose?
Nothing, I guess.
Well, then come on out Monday morning. I promise you it won't be dull.
Fine, Mr. Winston. I'll take a run out. Thank you very much.
Fine.
You folks pardon us while we raise an appetite on the dance floor?
Certainly.
You stay away too long and I wouldn't be responsible if there's nothing left.
Hey, Mom, keep an eye on Gargantua. My girl will be hungry when we get back.
Don't worry, he's had more than enough to eat already. He's going to find himself a girl to dance with right now.
What?
On your feet, you heard me.
Oh, Mom.
It's high time you learn some of the social graces. Now, go on.
Wait.
Oh, Harry. What can you do?
Well, I never realized the operation was so big. How many distribution centers like this does S&H have?
9.
What are these little train-like things?
Those are tow-bears. Incoming merchandise is unloaded from the trucks and put on these cars as a tow-bear and marked according to its destination. Then when it gets there, it's placed in its proper place in the pallet racks, which have been predetermined by the filing system in the office.
General Electric, Westinghouse, Samsonite, Rogers Brothers, Spalding. You carry quite a few brand names, don't you?
Hundreds of them. As a matter of fact, we're the largest single buyer of many nationally advertised products. They're what the customers want.
You make it sound as if you encourage stamp redemptions.
Of course we do.
But isn't it to your advantage if they don't redeem the stamps?
Well, I should say not. The more satisfied stamp users, the sounder our business. That's why we have distribution centers spotted over the country and 450 redemption stores.
450?
Actually, a few more than 450.
Tell me, Mr. Winston, how many people save your stamps?
Oh, about 20 million people save and redeem S&H stamps. The American consumer knows a good thing when he sees it.
Well, I don't get it.
Don't get what?
Well, I was taught in business college that any business that isn't a natural part of our economy eventually dies from undernourishment.
That's true. Sperry and Hutchison employ 4,500 people all over the country. People who buy the kind of things your dad sells in his store.
Sure, but let's face it, merchants who issue stamps have to pay for those stamps.
Certainly.
Well, since the merchant pays for the stamps, he has to get that money back in higher prices from the consumer.
Oh, no, that's where you're wrong. They more than make it up in added business. If they didn't, do you think they would continue to use the stamps?
Well, somebody has to pay.
Would you say that the consumer pays for advertising?
No, nationally advertised products usually cost less. I was taught that greater volume created by advertising allows the manufacturer to produce for less, and that saving is passed on to the consumer.
Now, that is right. Stamps, like advertising, boosts volume. Consequently, the merchant who issues stamps gets greater profits. Everybody gains and nobody loses. Now, that's the heart of the American system. Free enterprise and competition, and more things for the consumer. Wait till this passes and we'll go on. I'll show you some more.
What are those things anyway?
That is a forklift truck. Hiya, Tommy.
Morning, Mr. Winston.
We use 5 of those here, constantly loading and unloading merchandise as it comes from the manufacturers. It helps to keep our merchandise rolling to the people who save our stamps.
He really keeps that thing rolling.
Tommy's an expert. Now, these trucks are delivering merchandise to our redemption stores. You got a little time?
Certainly.
Well, I'm going to... Oh, Bill, will you tell Miss Carling I'll be out for a while?
Sure, Mr. Winston.
I've got a few calls to make. It won't take over a half hour. Why don't you come along for the drive? We can talk some more.
Good.
How many, Mr. Winston?
Fill her up.
Right.
This an independent station?
Well, not too independent to give good service, I hope. Yeah, Joe and I are partners. We own the place.
I notice you give away S&H Green Stamps.
Yeah, that's right.
How come?
Well, Joe and I have been in business for about a year. We're having a pretty rocky time. Didn't think we'd make it for a while. And one day, Mr. Winston stopped in and suggested we take the stamps.
I see.
Oh, it wasn't that simple. I didn't go for the idea. We were having a hard time making ends meet as it was. And the stamps cost something, so I was against it. Joe finally worked on me, and I gave in. You know, our business has been up 50%, and we're doing fine.
Well, that's wonderful.
Well, I can't say the stamps are responsible for the whole thing. I don't suppose you can prove that one way or the other. But everybody that comes in wants them.
Can't argue against that kind of evidence.
No. You know, they're advertised on TV and magazines all over the country, I understand. That'll be $2.75, Mr. Winston.
All right.
Thank you. Your change. And your green stamps.
Thank you.
Right.
Will you please put those in the glove compartment?
You mean you saved them too?
Oh, I wouldn't dare go home without them. Mrs. Winston wouldn't let me in.
Well, I might as well put them in the book for you.
I'll only be a minute. I have to get something for Mrs. Winston. We're having a party.
Fine.
Please.
Do you have a book for these?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. It's a swell market.
Certainly, you'll find S&H in the finest stores in the country. Well, Carl, do you think you'd like to come inside and make out an application for a job with Sperry and Hutchison?
Well, thank you, Mr. Winston, but I don't think so. But I would like to talk to you again real soon.
Fine.
Thank you very much for all your trouble.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
They'll be very happy, dear.
Remember when we went on our...
Oh, now.
I'll never forget that as long as I live.
You're not sorry about anything, are you, Carl?
Sorry?
I mean about you deciding to go into the store with your dad.
I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been able to convince him to gradually bring the store up to date. So it'll be a business with a future for us. And our kids.
There's our store.
Now you can buy everything you need there, and get S&H stamps, too. You know, I'm kind of anxious to get back. Get my teeth into building that business up.
Anxious to get back.
But not half as anxious as I am to get away with you right now.
Why, Mr. Bennett. Yeah, I saved all your mail for you.
Thanks. I'll pick it up on my way out.
Hello, Dale. Hear you're going to be around here for a while. You better check your sources.
Hello, Mr. Bennett. You can go right in. Mr. Craig's expecting you.
Thanks.
Well, Dale, glad to see you. Have a good vacation?
Wonderful.
Fine, fine. Sit down. Here, have a cigar.
No, thanks.
Well, now, the last time I saw you, you were a pretty angry guy.
I sure was. I was ready to quit. That's what I thought. How would you feel if you were me? I'd worked hard enough to get into that Paris office, and I'd worked hard to get good news sources in Europe. I was all set. Then you pull me back here.
For your own good. Because you'd forgotten to be a reporter. You were writing editorials, not news stories. We want to know what other people think. That's why I told you to take a vacation. You needed to get back to the grassroots. Get a little closer to people. What have you got there?
This is my vacation, in pictures. That's really what I want to talk to you about. I want you to have first crack at it.
Shoot.
Okay. You told me to take a vacation and think it over. When I left here, I just threw some camping gear into a station wagon and took off for nowhere. A few miles out of the city, I got an idea. There was Lake Michigan, looking cool and inviting. I thought, why not? And man, that old lake felt good. I was a new man when I came out. Got to watching a beach car scooting along. And then I stumbled right into something really attractive.
Well, hello.
Let go of me. Why don't you look where you're going?
Gee, I'm sorry.
Clumsy. Look what you've done. It was almost finished.
Oh, well, here, let me help you.
Don't touch it. Haven't you any sense at all? Just go away, please.
You know, you're mighty purty when you're mad. She was plenty mad. I tried to think of some way to make things right, but no luck. Oh, well. As I drove north, I couldn't get out of my mind. Then at a town along the way, I stopped to get some gas and maybe learn something about the local scenic spots. A funny thing happened. I guess I had luck on my side, because right there was the same painting of the lake and the dunes. Where'd you get that?
I just bought it. You think it's any good?
Yeah.
I kind of liked it. Maybe I just like the gal who painted it. Gee, she was pretty.
Say, how about selling that to me?
It's more than I paid for it. Okay, it's all yours. Do you know her?
No, but I'd like to.
Kind of interesting. Driving around with her father in an old car and trailer. They just left here about a half hour ago.
Which way'd they go?
Going north.
Thanks. So am I. So I started to keep an eye out for a car with a trailer. And a few miles up the road, there they were. Obviously in some kind of trouble. I stopped. But of course I would have stopped anyway, because there was the same gal up on a nearby hillside.
Hello, young fella. Want to buy a painting?
No, thanks.
Game of cribbage?
No.
A lot of people play cribbage, end up buying a painting. Whole back end's full of them. Know anything about engines?
Some. What seems to be the trouble?
Well, have a look. If it isn't one thing, it's another. Engines, brakes. Here, I'll show you. Doggone battery.
Better let me give you a push.
Hope you would. Just wanted to say thank you.
Not at all. But I'd do something about that car of yours if I were you. I don't think it's safe.
She's all we had. Have to make her last.
Well. Hey, look! It's moving! I never felt so sorry for any two people in my life. Her name was Connie. Her father was retired on a little pension, and she managed to sell enough paintings to just keep going. And then the whole thing went up in smoke. What did you do? Wasn't going anywhere. What could I do? So I hooked my station wagon to their trailer and we drove off together. And frankly, I wasn't at all sorry to do it. My vacation was turning out a lot better than I'd expected. What Connie felt, she kept to herself. And her dad? Well, it was hard to tell what he thought, too. We headed for Interlaken, pulled into a pretty grove of pines and made ourselves comfortable. Then I heard music.
Millions of youngsters come to Interlaken every summer. Come from all over the country to play, sing, dance, and study. It's a wonderful spot.
Well, I think I'll see if I can turn up a game of cribbage. Anything I can do?
No, thanks. You know, it's awfully nice of you to pull us around, but I don't feel right about it.
Ah, it's about time I got around to seeing the Middle West anyway.
I just love it. For years I've wanted to travel around and paint these beautiful scenes. Ted thinks I'm a little foolish.
Ted? Who's he?
Ted Newell. We've known each other since kindergarten. He thinks I ought to give it up.
Mm-hmm. Get married? Settle down?
I'm not ready to give up yet. Maybe he's right. My paintings don't sell very well.
Oh, don't let that bother you, baby. Well, think of all the great painters that had to die before their stuff began to sell. Take Cézanne, Gauguin.
Sometimes I think 2 years in Paris can make people awfully patronizing.
Uh-oh.
The things there are to see in this Middle West. Spring Mill State Park in Indiana takes you back. There's an old water wheel there, still running just as it did when our forefathers built it more than 100 years ago. Everybody seemed to be in a holiday mood. We drove over to New Salem in Illinois, where Abraham Lincoln lived as a young man. The old log buildings have been carefully restored as a monument to his memory.
I don't know about you, but a place like this makes me feel a shadow of history.
Yeah, I get a whale of a kick out of places like this.
You bet. A mighty big chunk of history got started right here. From rail splitter to president. But life must have been pretty rough in those days. How'd you like to travel around behind a pair of oxen?
We swung west to the Mississippi and turned north. We were looking at some barges and a river tug when Dad summed it up.
Once upon a time, these rivers were our only highways. Today, we have highways all over the country. We drive our own cars. We get on a train, a plane, go from one end of the country to another. And nobody says we can't.
Farther up the river, we crossed the bridge that leads into Hannibal, Missouri, Mark Twain's hometown. The whole world has come to know and love it through his books. You can still see settings that come to life in his books, like Mark Twain's home and Tom Sawyer's famous white fence. Not far away is a statue to Tom and his friend Huck Finn, the first statue ever put up in America to people out of a book. From there, we rolled across Missouri to Kansas City, where we saw one of the most beautiful war memorials in this country. From there, you get a fine view of the city itself. Talk about handsome buildings. You ought to see the state capitol at Lincoln, right in the corn belt of Nebraska. And then Kansas. We stopped in Dodge City to see famous old Boot Hill. They really died with their boots on in those days. Nearby is a monument to the frontier days, a couple of longhorns, which reminded us how much progress we've made in beef cattle. Oklahoma City's something entirely different. You just look around and you can see oil derricks, right up on the lawn of the state capitol. The first we saw of the Rocky Mountains was the summit of Pikes Peak, way off in the distance.
You don't realize how big this country is till you get around and see it.
Then we left the plains and began climbing up into Rocky Mountain National Park. There are plenty of mountains, all right. You keep climbing higher and higher. For miles on Trail Ridge Road, you can actually see the timberline below you. You're riding right on the top of the world. Then we got into the Grand Teton country of Wyoming. That scenery is so doggone beautiful, we just had to stop for a few days and soak it up. By this time, I knew I was serious about Connie. She was friendly enough, but most of the time she kept busy with her painting. Will you tell me something?
Sure.
What's the matter with me?
I don't know anything, yes, son. You got your heart set on getting over the other side of the ocean and covering the big stories, and of course you're thinking about Connie.
I've been thinking a lot about Connie. What kind of a guy is this Ted Newell?
Oh, Ted's all right. Kind of opinionated about some things, but he's solid.
I see. Does Connie...
Oh, I'm not taking any sides in this thing.
Connie and I kept right on talking about the scenery. The falls on the Yellowstone River. And they are pretty spectacular. Lots of color and action out there. And right on schedule, Old Faithful blew her top. I got to looking at the people, and especially at their cars. Dad said,
"There's many as 70 million of us jump in our cars in the summer and just go places."
Then we took a big swing through Montana. They say out here youngsters learn to walk almost as soon as they can ride. This is real vacation country. We got into the lowlands of Montana in time for the wheat harvest. Another thing I'd always wanted to see was the Mount Rushmore Memorial in South Dakota. There they are. Washington, Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abe Lincoln. So big they had to sculpt them out with dynamite. Old Mother Nature did some sculpting of her own in South Dakota's Badlands. But you know, they have a kind of eerie beauty all their own. And talk about contrasts. In North Dakota, we ran into the wheat harvests again. From there, we drove over to Itasca Park in Minnesota, where the trees grow green and tall. And every breeze makes its own kind of poetry in the treetops. That's where the Mississippi begins. There, it's so narrow you can walk across. Then there's the Great Mesabi Range, where so much of our iron ore has come from. It's like a giant's playground. Way down there, the big equipment, the trucks, and the men look like so many toys for children. Duluth on Lake Superior is one of the leading freight ports of the world. Most of us don't realize how much traffic they handle. As you drive down from Minnesota into Wisconsin, you're in another perfect vacation land. A land of trees and lakes. It was beside one of those Wisconsin lakes that I finally made up my mind to speak to Connie.
Hi, Dale. I was just fixing my hair. Isn't that view something?
Yes, it is. But I'd rather look at you. You're beautiful, Connie. You know, all the way from Michigan, I've been wondering just what I was doing.
Dale, you've been wonderful. Both Dad and I appreciate it.
Connie. How'd you like to spend a honeymoon in Paris?
Dale.
Paris in the spring is pretty wonderful. Will you marry me, Connie?
Dale, marriage is a lot more than Paris in the spring.
All right, then. Summer, fall, winter.
That's just it. You and I are 1,000 miles apart.
Oh, don't say no, Connie. Won't you at least think about it? Anyway, she didn't say no. Then we drove down along the Wolf River, headed for the Wisconsin Dells. Years ago, lumbermen used to float their logs downstream through here on the way to the sawmills. We saw the sights of the Dells. Stand Rock. The weird rock formations. Of course, Wisconsin isn't all lakes and gorges and forests. They have some of the richest dairy land in the country. Fine, big herds. I was enjoying it so much, I hated to see the trip end. I tried to stretch it out as long as I could. For instance, we drove back west a ways to take in the Iowa State Fair. You know, I'd never been to a fair like that before, and I'd missed something. Dad took off to the trotting races. Connie and I, well, we just had fun. For a day, I forgot all about Paris and my job there. And I hoped Connie was forgetting about her Ted Newell. Having fun is part of a state fair, but there's another side. All over the country, people get together at fairs like this to compare livestock and to exchange new ideas about farming. Well, it was quite a vacation. But like all good things, it finally came to an end. Connie and her father lived in a pleasant, small town with a town square and a bandstand. They had a comfortable white house on a shaded street. And it was on their front porch that I finally met Ted Newell.
So you're Dale Bennett. I've had so many letters from Constance about you, I feel as if I knew you. Mighty nice of you to pull them around.
It was nice for...
And I wanted Constance to try out this notion of hers. You know, painting things, trying to sell them. A lot of fun, but no way to live.
Well, now,
frankly, I hope she has it out of her system. I want her to keep on painting, of course, you know, as a hobby. But we have other plans, which seem to me to be, well, just a little bit more important. Well, I've got to run. See you later.
You know...
No, don't say it. The paintings haven't sold too well. But some people like them. And a friend of Ted's has promised to give me an art gallery show.
Hey, wait a minute. I've got a better idea. Will you let me pick out a few of them and take them with me?
Why, yes. But why?
I'd like to try something. I'll let you know what happens.
Dale, thanks for everything. And good luck in Paris. I wish you could be around here for a while.
So do I. But...
I can't explain what I'm trying to say very well, but if you could be here next Saturday afternoon, for instance, for the band concert.
Well, that's the story. I think her paintings are too good to be looked at by a few people. I think she has something to say about places and people that millions ought to see and think about. It's something that millions of people feel right here, even though they may not say much about it. It's the same thing that Ernie Pyle saw when he traveled around. The grassroots, the real heart and hope of America, maybe of the whole world. Let me show you.
Go ahead.
Why, look. You can see it right in the face of this boy with his prize-winning cat. It's as big as our whole country. But it's alive in this scene of a sheep herder, off all by himself, alone. But a part, and a mighty important part, of the way we work together. It's right there in the face of this roustabout in a new oil field. It's in the faces of all these people. But it starts right close to the earth. Look at this small town. Then add our farms, our cities, and our industry. And you discover the real secret of America right here in the Middle West. Don't you see what I mean? Think about printing one of these pictures every Sunday. Let millions of newspaper readers see them and maybe understand this country a little better.
I like them. Better yet, I like what you say about them. You give me an article in each painting, Dale, the way you're talking now, and it's a deal. Then we can talk about when you go back to Paris.
Back to Paris.
Take this new point of view back with you. Give me this kind of story about the people over there, the places over there, warm human stuff. Give me the same thing from Europe.
But it isn't the same.
People are people around the world.
Yes, but what I'm talking about, what I've seen in the faces of these people, what's in their lives, their hearts, their hopes, their opportunities, that's something alive right here in the Middle West. Why, I just suddenly realized that this is the only place in this world today where I can find the things I want to talk about. This is a wonderful place for a vacation, sure. But more than that, this is where I want to put my roots down, to work and live. I've just talked myself out of the Paris job, haven't I?
What's the matter with you? You've been fighting to get back to the Paris office. Okay, the job's yours. Take it.
No, sir. I got a better idea. I've got a date.
A date?
Yeah. A date with a bandstand. Connie.
Magic's here for you and me as we travel the roads to romance.
The Highway of Tomorrow. You leave or enter this superhighway at toll gates through interchanges spaced along its 160-mile length. The Pennsylvania Turnpike, piercing the Allegheny Mountains between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, is one of America's spectacular road-building feats. Whether going east or west, you drive without interruption or delay, through the ever-unfolding grandeur of the Appalachians, past fertile farms and spots of historic lore. Sweeping curves and tunnels carved under the lofty mountains give new zest to your driving pleasure. Near the turnpike is a lake, which in certain places bubbles continuously, as if the water were boiling. This statue is but one of the many historic monuments commemorating people and places long held in deep respect by all Americans. Over this finely engineered highway, the finest engineered cars carry millions of people bound on business, travel, or vacation. It was in this part of the country, too, that George Washington first gave evidence of his greatness. Fort Necessity at Great Meadows saw the then young officer fight the first real battle of the French and Indian Wars, saw the colonists unite for the first time in a common cause, and saw the first wheeled vehicle brought over the first road west of the Alleghenies. Today, you and your family can enjoy the vacation thrills of this area. And no matter where you live, you can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy. Travel this year the roads to romance, to places you have always wanted to go. And when you travel, go in one of the quality motor cars your neighborhood Chevrolet dealer has to offer. It will be your magic carpet that will carry you to the land of your heart's desire.
Lazy days, warm and free, pathways to climb, rivers to see. Magic's here for you and me as we travel the roads to romance.
Many of America's finest highways lead to the state of Kentucky, and the bluegrass lands in the rolling country around Lexington are rich in scenic and historical interest. Beautiful Ashland is preserved as the home of the silver-tongued orator Henry Clay. Here, Daniel Boone blazed a westward trail. The blockhouse at Harrodsburg stands as a reminder of the Indian Wars. In Bardstown, Stephen Foster wrote some of his unforgettable melodies. And today, at my old Kentucky home, visitors recapture the memory of the past. The bluegrass lands wear their greatest fame as the home of the Kentucky Thoroughbred. And Calumet Farm, open to visitors, ranks among the finest thoroughbred farms in all this rich land. Here are the aristocrats of the sport of kings and their gangling offspring, the potential stars of tomorrow. Today, you and your family can enjoy the vacation thrills of this spot. And no matter where you live, you can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy. Travel this year the roads to romance, to places you have always wanted to go. And when you travel, Go in one of the quality motor cars your neighborhood Chevrolet dealer has to offer. It will be your magic carpet that will carry you to the land of your heart's desire.
Lazy days, warm and free, pathways to climb, rivers to see. Magic's here for you and me as we travel the roads to romance.
Minneapolis and St. Paul, twin cities of Minnesota, are the gateways to vacation lands in the north. On the banks of the Mississippi, today's motorist checks the contrast of new and old in transportation as he paces the famed Mississippi stern wheelers which still ply the Father of Waters. These are the legend lands of the Indian Hiawatha and the Princess Minnehaha. Minnehaha Falls, the Laughing Waters, is a shrine for visitors set in an area of parks and botanical gardens. Easily reached by motor car, Lake Minnetonka, famed in song, is unbelievably beautiful. And at the same time, a paradise for the sportsman and summer vacationist. In these sunny blue waters, there are thrills aplenty for sailing enthusiasts as well as landlubbers. Today, you and your family can enjoy the vacation thrills of this spot. And no matter where you live, you can reach it quickly, comfortably, and with utmost economy. Travel this year the roads to romance, to places you have always wanted to go. And when you travel, go in one of the quality motor cars your neighborhood Chevrolet dealer has to offer. It will be your magic carpet that will carry you to the land of your heart's desire.
Beauty in color, in soft tones and shadings, and in swift, rippling motion. Colors of the rainbow. The brilliantly new Chevrolet line for 1952 brings enrichment in design, subtle harmonies in color, meticulous perfection of detail, faultlessly combined to offer a rainbow range of personalized selection in Chevrolet's fine car tradition. Yes, whatever Mr. and Mrs. America and their family want in motor car beauty and usefulness, they find in Chevrolet. In the deluxe Styline 4-door sedan, lots of room for the family and easy to get in and out. It makes a beautiful picture. The deluxe Styline Sport Coupe, smart and convenient. Plenty of room for friends to ride in comfort. The deluxe Styline 2-door sedan. It's popular. It's roomy and smart looking. And here is the deluxe Fleetline 2-door sedan. The body lines blending into the trunk give it a graceful appearance all its own.
The special Styline 4-door gives full sedan capacity and all of Chevrolet's safety and performance at lower cost. The Styline Business Coupe has been designed with salesmen in mind. Practical and smart. Plenty of carrying space behind the seat and in the extra big luggage compartment. And the real all-purpose model is the Chevrolet station wagon. Its all-steel body with 4 doors is beautiful, quiet, and easy to care for. 8 can ride in it comfortably, or take out the back seats and have the carrying capacity of a light truck. If you like an open car, the outstanding favorite is the Chevrolet convertible, a thrill to drive and a thrill to own. And you can see at a glance why the Bel Air is the style sensation of them all. Whichever model meets your preference, Chevrolet 452 brings you America's most beautiful motor car. The car that sets the styling trend for today and tomorrow. The grille, cleanly sculpted, features new vertical fins, which with the new and larger parking lights, focus attention on the car's greater width. Massive, gleaming, the bumper curves protectively around the fenders in unified artistry. The colorful new hood emblem proudly symbolizes 21 years of public preference, just as the hood ornament with its swept-back jet aircraft wings symbolizes smooth, powerful performance. On deluxe models, the graceful new spear-type side moldings carry the eye to the new distinctive rear fender molding, accentuating the car's longer, lower lines. With Chevrolet, perfection of the whole is made up of perfection in every detail. As you open the door of a 1952 Chevrolet Deluxe sedan or coupe, you'll find real newness in harmonizing interiors. If the body color you select is beige or maroon, black or gray, the interior color scheme is carried out in harmonizing grays. Here is superb styling in tasteful tones of gray, exemplified by seat upholstery and chevron pattern cloth, set off by broadcloth in a solid tone. The feeling of gracious, warm color harmony is carried out with impeccable taste in sidewall, floor covering, and every luxurious interior detail. Here a tone of the exterior body color is used to set off the interior treatment. The crisp brilliance of chrome dramatizes the safety sight instrument panel. The lower instrument panel in metallic light gray is beautifully framed above and at both ends by a tone of the body color. The steering wheel is newly and pleasingly treated in lustrous black. Throughout the car, the classic symmetry of quality chrome hardware highlights the glamorous interior luxury of royal tone styling. For those who prefer any one of the exterior choices in blue, 1952 royal tone styling offers an elegant interior treatment in harmonizing tones of blue throughout, blending into a perfect balance of finest taste. And for those who choose exteriors of green, again, luxurious royal tone styling brings perfectly matched interiors. Soft shades of green, light and dark, are used for every detail of upholstery and trim. And in 1952, special interiors combine unusual smartness and exceptional wearing qualities. With sidewalls in durable gray two-tone leather fabric, seat upholstery in beautiful checked gray pattern cloth, luxury at lowest cost. Chevrolet's Bel Air is unmatched by any other car in the striking beauty of its interiors. Superb two-tone combinations of soft, lustrous, genuine leather and finest pattern cloth. Here in beach white and bittersweet is only one of 6 distinctively different interior color combinations to harmonize with and accentuate the beauty of the 15 Bel Air exterior color choices. The flashing smartness of the 10 convertible exterior colors is matched only by the richness of the interiors. Seat upholstery, all in finest genuine leather, is offered in 5 different color combinations to best suit the overall color styling. Chevrolet's Royal Tone styling puts ever more emphasis on exterior color to offer for 1952 a rainbow of 26 entirely new solid tone and two-tone color combinations. Brighter, gayer, richer, more pleasing than ever before. Shimmering emerald green, soft spring green, and the two combined. Grays that blend perfectly, delicate birch gray, restful dusk gray. Colors that meet in harmony of two-tone blue. Rich admiral blue, quiet twilight blue, glowing regal maroon, warm Sahara beige, mellow saddle brown, gay cherry, beach white with vivid bittersweet, refreshing honeydew, glistening onyx black. Chevrolet, brilliantly new 452. More people buy Chevrolets than any other car. Chevrolet, the only fine cars priced so low. And when you buy your 1952 Chevrolet, you have a choice of 129 distinctive model color combinations. Yes, in Chevrolet, the rainbow is yours.
Well, I made it. It's a good thing I did. I was just going through the motions of being alive. But some way or other, I managed to drag over to the station just about the usual time. It didn't look too inviting. Fine. I was stuck with it. So there I was, the answer to a motorist prayer. Old Al Drake, all set to serve the great American public. Yeah. You should have seen me dive into my work that morning. A regular dynamo. The first thing was to postpone all the things I'd planned to do first thing that morning. And then check the time. Almost 8 o'clock. Well, then I got comfortable for a little nap. And then the first car drove in. Oh, I was overjoyed to see it. Rushed out to see what the man wanted. It was a guy by the name of Parker. Been a customer of mine, oh, maybe a month, I guess. He wanted some gas. Well, while I was filling the tank, I noticed him. He kept looking at me. What do you expect? Vaudeville at that time of day? You can't be a little sunbeam all the time. Well, next I asked him, check the oil, Mr. Parker?
Yeah, better do that.
The water in the radiator was down a little, so I filled it. That's just another little feature of our snappy service. And then I checked the oil. It was okay. Of course, it never fails.
Check the tires, too, will you, Al?
Why is it, I asked myself, that every guy thinks buying a few gallons of gas gives him the right to work you to death? Well, all of a sudden, I noticed something. Water leaking from the radiator. I started to check it, and...
Something wrong, Al?
Well, I thought, why look for trouble? Why bring on extra work? So I said, nope, it's okay, I guess. And that... Oh, gee, I felt lazy. I wished I didn't have to work so hard for a living. I wondered if I'd ever get rich. Oh, yeah. I was doing a great job that day. And it didn't let down. I kept up the good work when the second car drove in. It was old man Watts. What can I do for you this morning, Mr. Watts?
Well, I'd like to have you take a look at the water, Al. It seems to be running pretty hot.
Water, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have a look. Big deal. Fill her up, the man says, with pre-water. Burned my hand, too. Made me sore. The old goat had his nerve coming to me with his radiator troubles. I was running a filling station, not a water department. Well, anyway, I filled it. And for some reason, I looked inside the radiator, poked my finger in. Brother, no wonder that engine was hot. What a mess that was, all gummed up with muck and stuff. It's filthy. I started to say something, and then I caught myself. He hadn't bought anything, not that day anyway. So why should I put myself out? I let it go. And he drove off. I sauntered back inside thinking about what a dull day it was. I certainly wasn't making $1 million at this rate, I told myself. Oh, well, it seemed like as good a time as any to catch up on some book work. That doesn't take much energy. So I started in. At least I tried to, but a thought started nudging me, and it wouldn't go away. I'd been pretty stupid. I tried to forget it, but, well, I couldn't. The way I brushed off Parker and Watts, well, I mean, after all, they're customers. They're my bread and butter. I knew better than that. I began to feel a little ashamed of myself, and then it happened.
And brother, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
What the who?
What? Don't get excited. I'm part of you. I'm your better judgment, or your conscience, maybe, Al. And to tell you the truth, I'm tired of getting pushed around.
Oh, come on. This don't happen.
What's the matter with me? That's your trouble. You don't pay any attention to your better judgment.
Boy, they told me this business would have me talking to myself.
All right, be funny. But let's get one thing straight, Al. Why'd you get in the service station business anyway? To make money. And how do you make money? By selling service. That's why they call it a service station.
What do you mean? I give service. Sure, you sell gasoline, oil, grease jobs. You call that service? Well, what else can you do?
Plenty. Listen, customers are getting harder to get, Al. There are too many service station men on their toes, giving you real competition these days. Customers nowadays want more service, and they're going to get it. If not here, someplace else. Okay, but I don't get the point. Don't you? Well, figure it this way.
Most of your customers are still driving pre-war cars, old cars. In order to keep running, they've got to have service. And that means more than just gas and oil. Customers know this, and they count on you to furnish that service. If you don't, they lose. They pay big repair bills, and they get sore. And you lose because you don't get the profit you should from complete service.
Listen, I give service. I give 100% service, Al. You give that? Or do you stop at halfway service? I make money. I keep my customers.
Up till now. But the holiday is about over. From now on, you have to start playing it smart. You have to remember that halfway service means halfway profits. And that leads to no customers, no profits. 100% service means 100% profits. And that brings you new customers all the time. You sound like a sales manual. Mm-hmm. Well, suppose I show you something, Al. Hang on.
That first customer this morning, you saw that water leak from the radiator. What'd you do about it? Nothing. Suppose you checked under the hood. Suppose you found the leak wasn't from the overflow pipe. Suppose there was a loose hose connection. You tighten it. And the result, the customer is impressed. You're looking out for his interests. That much effort puts you in just that much more solidly with the customer.
Oh, maybe. Only how do we know it was just a loose hose connection? I've been waiting for that one, Al. It might have been something worse, like this. You might have tightened that connection and found the radiator still leaking. In that case, what would you have done?
That hose is pretty worn, Mr. Parker. Ought to replace that.
Well, all right.
But I think there's a leak in the radiator itself.
Oh, fine. You mean I need a new radiator?
No, it's not that bad. Here, wait just a minute. That's the smart way to play it, Al. You've sold him new hose and new hose clamps, and you've got more profits coming.
Warner liquid solder. What's this stuff do?
Well, you've got a leak in your radiator. As I get it, this liquid solder works this way, Mr. Parker. You pour this into the radiator, and it circulates with the water all through the cooling system.
I see.
Wherever there's a leak that water goes through, this liquid solder goes through with it. If you could see it under a microscope, it might look something like this.
Not much of a leak.
Well, if you lose a drop a second, you'll empty your radiator in 24 hours.
Well, go on.
The chemicals in this product stick to metal. So over the opening, the leak, the tiny fibers form a kind of mat or web that slows the leak down. As the water seeps through, more chemicals are exposed to the air, and that makes them harden. And there's a solid layer covering the opening. You've repaired that leak perfectly. The solid part reinforced by the mat.
How long does it last?
It's there for keeps. You can't tear it loose. Mighty good product. I sell a lot of it.
Now, wait a minute. Wouldn't those fibers clog up the rest of the cooling system?
Not a chance. First place, these fibers are so small, they're practically invisible, especially when they're mixed in with all the water in the cooling system. Besides, they're so light, they never settle. They can't possibly clog anything. But the solder is there as a protection against any future leaks that might occur. See there? That's 100% service. Yeah. Figure it out. You'd have sold him new hose clamps, or any new parts he needed for his cooling system. And the Warner solder, too. No work to that. It's clear profit, Al. But it's more than that. It's insurance against a dissatisfied customer. You might have saved that man a big repair bill, a lot of trouble. You never know. But in any case, you'd have made some money.
Yeah. There's no reason why I didn't do that.
Then there was that second customer. Want to try him again?
Yeah. Let me go back.
I guess I'd been peeved because Watts hadn't bought anything. Just wanted water. The thing I overlooked was that sometimes you have to do a little selling. Give a man a reason for buying. What I should have done was show him the condition of that radiator. Should have explained to him about the trouble he was heading for. The reason your engine's running so hot is that your cooling system, radiator and all, is beginning to clog up.
Oh, is it?
Uh-huh. Look at this. It's full of dirt, rust, and oil muck.
But I thought all radiators got dirty inside.
Well, they do, and that's the trouble. It's like a movie I saw not long ago. Most people just don't realize how important it is to keep that cooling system clean. You see, the dirt and the rust and the oil that naturally seep into the radiator and other parts of the cooling system circulate with the water. And this stuff is deposited on the metal parts. Pretty soon you've got a regular blanket all through the system.
Seems to me I read something about that. The water doesn't cool the motor.
That's the idea. You might just as well not have a cooling system. The water can't get through to the metal to pull the heat away. It's just as though you insulated the metal from the water in the system. The metal never cools off. Pretty soon you've got hot spots, stuck valves. You can wind up with anything from a stuck valve to a cracked block.
Yeah, but you can do something about it, can't you?
Sure. Clean it out. Here, let me show you.
This really do the job?
Sure it does. See, it goes to work on the oil and grease that binds the dirt and rust and scale together. It dissolves this oil binder and puts a kind of coating around the dirt particles. That keeps them floating in the water till you drain that water off. That's the way to get the system really clean.
Oh, I ought to have it done, I guess. Doggone it, I have to use the car today. Suppose I'll leave it with you tomorrow.
Oh, no, you don't have to leave it at all. All I do is put the cleaner in the radiator, and you go ahead and drive the car. Come back in about 200 miles, and we'll drain the radiator and put in some clean water, and you're all set.
Oh, fine.
Well?
Well, pour it in. I'm sold.
Okay. Now, this one here, Mr. Watts.
What's that? Does it take two kinds of stuff to do the job?
No, but while we're at it, I want you to know about this, too. This is the twin to the cleaner. Once you get the cooling system clean, this is what keeps it clean.
Well, how's that?
Well, that dirt and muck in your radiator is made up mostly of rust. Now, you can clean that rust out every so often, but that's not too good, because the longer you let that metal rust, the more trouble you're in for. Every time some rust washes away from the metal, it means the metal's washing away with it.
That stuff's supposed to stop rust?
Not just supposed to, but does. Completely stops all rust and corrosion.
What is it, some kind of oil?
Oh, no. You never want to use an oil product of any kind in the radiator of your car. This Warner cooling system protector is a chemical product. It's carried through the system by the water, and it lays a thin film over the metal wherever water touches it. It's a film so thin you can't even see it with a microscope. But that film won't come off, and it stops rust because the water can't touch the metal. So that way you don't have rust or corrosion particles clogging up the cooling system.
Well, that makes sense. All right, put it in.
No, not yet. We'll wait till you come in after that 200 miles. We'll use this after we get the cooling system good and clean.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll be seeing you, Al.
All right, Mr. Watts.
Say, Al.
Yes, sir?
You know your business, don't you?
You see, Al? It's really no more work to give 100% service than halfway service, but it pays off better. Yeah. And you keep your customers, too. Nobody goes away sore.
Uh-huh.
Keep your eyes open for ways to prevent trouble. You'll find plenty of new ways to make profits.
Yeah?
In other words, the money you make is in proportion to the service you give. 100% service, 100% profits. Halfway service, halfway profits.
Yeah?
Hey, you listening to me? Oh, yeah, I guess you're right on that 100% service. But those two customers this morning, why didn't I give them that 100% service business? You will, Al. What? You will. Wait till they come in. I don't get you. I thought that... Take a look at the clock. So help me, it said 8 o'clock. It was right where it was before. Now figure that out. And the thing was gone. I was by myself. Well, then the signal bell rang, and out there on the drive was Parker, just like before. It didn't make sense. No, sir. It didn't make sense. Look, you know how it is when you see a movie a second time? Well, that's how it was with me that morning. I knew everything was going to happen, because I'd been through it twice before. The day was starting over for me. Well, that is, if it had ever started the first time. I don't know. I wondered if maybe I could have dropped off for a few seconds without knowing it, and maybe dreamed it. But, well, the dream wouldn't come true, would it? I mean, not that close. Not right down to even a leak in the radio. The leak, it was there. That did it. That woke me up. I handled Parker the right way. I did the job I was supposed to do. And ever since that day, I've stayed awake. Yeah, I play that 100% service angle now. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't work any longer or harder. But I make more money, and I get more customers. Just by watching for those little chances to make a profit by stopping trouble. Did you ever try that? Those little profits mount up. Before you know it, you can double your take. And a double take, mister, well, that's easy to take. See what I mean about 100% service? But don't you try that. Wife.
And here is drama in the making, as the world-famous photographer calls the shots from the flying bridge of the world's most famous photo boat. With their great battery of cameras, firing from every conceivable angle, this is Miss Covergirl III, beautiful queen of beautiful cypress gardens, especially designed to capture all the action on anybody's water. On target are the world's most famous outboard engines, the sensational all-new Johnson Seahorse line for 1962. At Florida's beautiful cypress gardens, Johnson Seahorse outboard engines are used exclusively in 4 rugged ski shows a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, and beyond all doubt, prove their quiet, dependable power to the world champion skiers and boat drivers whose great performance is made possible by the great performance of the Seahorse. Heading up Miss Covergirl's incomparable camera crew is Johnson Motors producer-director Dick Matt, who through the years has made some 35 motion pictures telling the thrilling saga of the Seahorse on the lakes, rivers, and oceans of the world. And now with the new boating year ahead, everyone naturally looks for something new, and naturally Johnson has it. On his record, Dick Matt is well qualified to kick off the new Seahorse line for 62, and here he is.
Hi. I've been on the business end of the camera for over 15 years. And in the many photographic projects for Johnson in the past 10, I've seen the birth and the growth of family boating and worked constantly with the outboard engines that have brought more boating fun to more boating families than any others, the famous Johnson Seahorses. Based on my personal experience, I can honestly say that the new Seahorses for 62 are the finest outboard motors ever produced by Johnson. Believe me, they're great. They're nothing short of spectacular. Okay, fellas, let's bring them up in line.
it's climb aboard the photo boat and follow the action, because all the Cypress Garden stars are eager to put on a good show just for you, and at the same time demonstrate exactly what this great new Seahorse line is. To open the show, that great aquatic piano virtuoso, Professor Richard Downing Pope, creator and owner of Cypress Gardens, plays accompaniment for lovely aqua ballerina Willa McGuire. Always a surefire hit. Always a surefire hit, too, is the new Seahorse 3, Mighty Might of the outboating world, a lightweight beauty that makes easy does it a happy fact to many a fisherman. Easy to carry, easy to portage, and easy to start, this rugged, dependable little honey of a motor will take you right into spots where the big ones are. Living. Real living. Living, as many people know it today, are the compact cars that have made such a compact impact on this world of the 60s. Logically, it follows that Johnson has met this widespread demand for big things in small packages by introducing their spectacular new line, the 1962 Seahorse Compacts. Here's the new Compact 5.5, and what a package of performance it is. The Compact 10, and the great new Compact 2-Star 18. The Johnson Seahorse Compacts, newest of new for 62. Just compare the new Compact 5.5, for instance, with last year's motor. See the big difference? And that's the way it is with all three compacts, narrower, slimmer, trimmer, yet every inch of Seahorse with that distinctive, evolutionary Johnson styling that keeps trade-in values higher. And they all have a list of features as long as your arm, complete corrosion protection inside and out, thermostatically controlled cooling systems, fuel pump, and premium automotive-type finishes. You'll notice, too, that all the Seahorse compacts have a new grip for easier handling and better tilt balance. The Compact 18, as well as the Compact 5.5 and 10, has all the refinements of the bigger models, assuring performance plus on any boating water. Years of Johnson's engineering know-how have made the 18 and each compact as quiet as a ticking watch. Yes, these are the great new Johnson Seahorse compacts, newest of new for 62, each a lightweight, trim, slim package of quiet, dependable power. And speaking of power, here's Mr. Power himself. Meet Mike Osborne, national ski champ and specialist in barefoot skiing. Now, by popular request, Mike is about to repeat one of the most spectacular feats in the history of water skiing. Bare feats, that is. Try this on your, well, no, you better not. And here's power for you, the combined power of man and motor. Mike's behind that Seahorse now, on conventional skis, but not for long. Watch this. Brother, this boy is really amphibious. He must have keels on his heels. Skiing on one bare foot. Doesn't this boy know that's impossible? Mike Osborne, a great star and a splash hit, and I mean splash. Oh, say, Mr. Family Man, ever thought about taking your family boating? Well, what are you waiting for? Come on. Put your family in this beautiful rig. Or how about this one? Come on, climb in. That's it, fella. You don't have to be rich to give your family the incomparable joys of boating. Anyone can afford Johnson's big economy package for 62, the brand new Freestar 28 horse, complete with all the important features of its bigger brothers. The new Seahorse 28 will give you everything you want in family boating. Thanks to the Seahorse 28, it's no trick at all to make your family one of the millions of happy Seahorse families all over the country. Why, monthly payments are often less than those you pay on your household appliances. Ask your Johnson dealer what his time payment plan is for modest budgets. How about a picnic? Well, just pick out your own private beach, and you'll discover appetites you never knew you had. Yes, the happiest families in the world are seahorse families, and once you've become one of them, you'll proudly wear your seahorse cap to tell the world that you're enjoying the best in boating. No, sir, Mr. Family Man, it's no trick at all to introduce your family to the wonderful world of water. But there are tricks to this, plenty of them. Here's world champion trick skier Jeff Wolf of Cypress Gardens. You know, some people just naturally run around in circles, but Jeff makes a career of it, and he has a whole showcase full of trophies to prove it. A showstopper at every performance, that's Jeff Wolf. Showstoppers, too, are the famous White Angels, the world's greatest precision boat drivers. This year, their boats are equipped with the sensational new Seahorse Electromatic 40s, greatest showstopper in outboards. The 4-star 40s give you 3 models to choose from, and they're all new for 62. The White Angels, you might recall, were the stars of the spectacular Paramount featurette Boats A-Poppin'. And to a man, these White Angels have voted the new Seahorse 40s for 62 the best of them all. All 3 models feature a completely redesigned powerhead. The crankcase is new, the newly designed pistons are 20% lighter, and the connecting rods are heavier. The crankshaft is heavier too, and the top and center journal bearings are all new. The Electromatic 40 lower unit is slimmer and trimmer than ever. The smoothest, safest control on any water. That's the revolutionary new all-electric single lever control and transmission that gives the Electromatic 40 its name. The secret of the new control starts way back with the ancient Chinese. And here's pretty Cypress Gardens Aquamaid Nancy Legant to illustrate the general idea. Nancy has an old Chinese finger trap, and she finds that the harder she tugs at it, the tighter it grips. In fact, it grips so tightly that it actually pulls Nancy on her skis. When she's ready for a landing, all she has to do is slack up on the tow line, which releases the trap. As simple as that. Yes, the old Chinese finger trap led to the magic word, electromatic. Now let's see how the electromatic transmission works. When the control is in neutral position, clutch springs, modern versions of the Chinese finger trap, rotate freely around the clutch hub. As the control is pushed forward, electrical energy follows a wire back to the lower unit gear case. This electrical current energizes a stationary clutch coil, and the magnetic force attracts the last turn of the rotating spring, which grips and drives the clutch hub spline directly to the propeller shaft. Just as the harder you pull, the harder a finger trap grips. The harder and faster the spring is driven, the tighter it grips the clutch hub. To go into reverse, merely pull back on the single lever electromatic control, and the entire operation is reversed. As simple as that. There is no sudden jerk, no clunk, forward, neutral, or reverse. Your shift is smooth and effortless, and since your hand never has to leave the single lever shift control to push buttons or other gadgets, it's absolutely goof-proof. The world's smoothest, safest control, and only Johnson has it. The new electromatic control also features an idling adjustment for fast warm-up and for charging batteries while idling. Accelerator tension is adjustable too, giving you just the right feel on the throttle. The White Angels call it real fingertip control. But you don't have to be a White Angel or an old salt to handle a boat with the new Seahorse Electromatic control. It's opening up new boating thrills for everyone. Anyone can bring a boat up to the pier as softly as a morning sunrise.
Isn't it wonderful? I never drove a boat before we bought our new Seahorse Electromatic. It's the thrill of a lifetime.
The thrill of a lifetime. Thanks to those magic words in outboards, Johnson Electromatic. Even the White Angels, with all the thrills they've known in their lifetimes, get a big kick out of putting the new Seahorse 4-star electromatic 40s through their paces. And what beautiful, smooth, effortless paces they are. A boat ballet if you've ever seen one. Not since the days of Benjamin Franklin has a kite caused so much excitement. Simon might not discover electricity up there, but he can look down on a driver and a pair of seahorses that will zoom him high above the tall trees that gave Cypress Gardens its name. Far below, Simon discovers something else new for 62, two of the white angels pouring it on as they put the king of the outboards through its paces, the mighty Seahorse 5-star electromatic V75. But we'll see those fellows later, because right now, Simon is looking straight down at the takeoff ramp where Dick Matt is set for still more of his camera magic. Always looking for new angles, Dick had a small door cut in the takeoff ramp, just big enough for head, shoulders, and of course, camera. Practically into the lens. What a shot. What, another one? Nope. Better not push your luck too far, Dick. Back in your box, boy. And better not push your luck too far either, Simon. Come on in and take a well-deserved round of applause. Here he is, Simon Curry, 5 times the champion. Meanwhile, White Angels, Red McGuire, and Jerry Embers are still on their shakedown run with those big 75s. These big-powered motors are available in 2 5-star models. The standard electric starting V75 and the new electromatic V75, which comes complete with built-in electric transmission, the exclusive single-lever electromatic control, and the revolutionary high-output alternator with transistorized voltage regulator that charges your battery even when idling. Red and Jerry put on quite a show with their electromatic V75s. They're checking and rechecking every feature of this king of the outboards. And when they come in, they'll know that they've been driving the greatest motor ever engineered by Johnson or anyone else. The V75 alternator we talked about gives you a constant supply of electricity for all accessories such as horns, ship-to-shore, or citizens band radio, depthometers, and even television. The high-output alternator also paves the way for many exciting accessories of the future. Some of them are here right now, including Johnson's new power tilt that tilts your Seahorse electrically for launching, beaching, mooring, or slowly cruising over shallows. This electric power tilt switch on the dash does the whole job, and it also doubles as a hydraulic shock absorber. You get amazing fuel economy with the new V75 too, up to 60% fuel saving in cruising ranges due to the fixed high-speed carburetor jets, automatic choke, and fuel-saver throttle linkage. Fast acceleration too, because of the V75's brute strength with plenty of power to spare. Enough to drive many boats better than 40 miles an hour. You know, once in a while someone asks the question, why an outboard? Well, ask the old-time fishermen. Ask the teenagers. The people who know boating best will tell you that outboards are the most versatile, most economical means of boat propulsion. They'll tell you that only an outboard requires no expensive installation and it takes no special fuel. It can run at continuous wide-open throttle with no engine damage. There is no power loss since no extra gears are needed to get power to the propeller. And because it has fewer moving parts, your outboard will last years longer. Outboard performance may be customized to your particular load and hull, with a choice of propellers exactly suited to your boat. Styling is suited to a wide selection of boats too, a beautifully styled engine that any owner can be proud of. Outboards are easily serviced and can be stored without major problems and heavy equipment. A tune-up at your dealers is an easy task, and Johnson dealer service cannot be equal. There's a Johnson Seahorse exactly right for any boat at a low initial investment. Johnson's retain higher trade-in values than any other engine, so your investment is protected. Trade motors without trading boats, or boats without trading motors. No other engine application permits this convenience and economy. Yes, the true outboard is best, and the Johnson Seahorse is the best of the outboards. Set your course for anywhere, and a Johnson Seahorse will get you there. Well, how about it, Dick? Got it all wrapped up? Oh, one more shot, huh? Well, here's the testimonial for you. This is the very first Seahorse built, and it's still in good running condition. Is that it, Dick?
Yes, sir, Mr. Dreyer. And take it from me and all the other people who know boating best. The Johnson Seahorse is the best power you could possibly put on your boat.